Thank you. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a great day here at DevCom, and I appreciate you taking the time to come join this session. And with this session, we're going to talk about heavy indie gamers and go over a survey that we've done and gathered a bunch of data. But before we do that, I'd like to start today with a little story, a story about a cat. And you probably already know this cat from Blue 12 Studios' game Stray. Playful, inquisitive, and excited to explore a brand new, unknown world and make an impact on the surroundings. This cat is every indie gamer in a nutshell. It's inquisitive, playful, wants to make an impact. And the story of Stray began in 2015 with just an idea from two people who left Ubisoft in France. And they wanted to explore a whole new world and create an independent project of their own. Fortunately for them, they created an open-world, third-person RPG with a narrative based on their own cats in a post-apocalyptic world with robots. The team prepared for a wide range of reviews from industry critics as they brought it to life. But to everyone's shock, Blue 12's pre-launch publicity efforts, plus all the glowing reviews, drew more and more interest in their game. This was turning out to be no mere small indie title that comes and goes. A week before launch, Stray topped Steam's wishlist chart. And after its release, Stray broke the publisher's record for concurrent Steam players. Thanks to more than 62,000 reviews and players, Stray has already become the highest user-rated Steam title this year. Has anybody played it? Anyone played Stray? Excellent. All right. The review's correct? Is it a great game? Excellent. Thank you. Now, Stray's initial success isn't an outlier based on luck or the cute kitty. All right, maybe a little bit of it had to do with the cat. But at its core, Stray is a game produced by intelligent, passionate creators with their eyes always on the customer, the indie gamer. This dystopian adventure is on target with indie gamers' preferences. And I'll share more about those preferences in a moment. But first, just another quick show of hands. How many in the audience are indie game developers? We've got a few out here. Excellent. Thank you for the great games that you make and are making. And you're in good company. The video games landscape is truly an exciting place to be. And there are a lot of changes, new policies, new tools, new engines at your disposal. It's the perfect place to make your impact. And you might feel right now that the indie game marketplace is a little fragmented, saturated, and a little overwhelming. And you're right, it is. It's definitely a big market now. And it's no small feat to create your magic without big investor support or a traditional publisher. And we know that this is very daunting. But it is possible. And it's possible, just like with Stray, to do it with just a little change in your perspective. And you have three key assets in your back pocket to help you succeed: your passion, your players, and us. All of us here at DevCom. All the presenters that you've been listening to, all the exhibitors that you're talking with, the industry friends that you interact with, and the new people you meet. We're all here to give you the tools, the insights, and the connections to help make that next step in your journey a success. So speaking of insights, we have some. So we went out and spoke with a lot of indie gamers. We wanted to know, who are they? How do you sell your game to them? So Xsolla, 80 Level, and Interpret surveyed 1,500 gamers in Germany, the UK, and the US. These gamers were 18 to 55 years old, and we wanted to learn from them more about what kinds of games they like to play, what drives their purchasing decisions, and much more. The results were pretty cool, definitely useful. The report categorized the individuals into three groups. We have heavy indie gamers who play 5 or more indie games in the past year, casual indie gamers, who we qualified those as people who played 1 to 4 indie games in the past year, and traditional gamers, These are people that really haven't played any indie games, but they did play at least one AAA title. And our team put together an in-depth report for you from this survey with all of this data across all these different segments. And it has our full summary, and it has insights, and it's a very valuable report. And at the end of the presentation, I'll share a QR code with you where you can download the ebook and get it for free, and go off and be better equipped to find success with your indie game. But for today, our focus is going to be on the heavy indie gamers. And I'm going to share a few key takeaways from the report about that particular segment. Since this group plays the most indie games, they're probably going to be your initial target audience, at least in the beginning. So, who are heavy indie gamers? Well, they love to play both indie and AAA titles. Heavy indie gamers consider gaming to be part of their identity. It's really who they are. They self-identify as gamers in a big way. They spend more than 5 hours a week playing games, and they try to stay up to date on the latest game releases. So they're going to go out and search for information and stay informed about what's coming. These heavy indie gamers also love AAA titles, so it's not an either-or kind of audience here. They love both. They're just gamers all around. But they do prefer authentic experiences, the kind that indie games provide, over those of big AAA enterprise studios. We've all heard, the talk of AAA is kind of retread of things over and over again, not a lot of new mechanics. Well, this is where indie games really come in, and this is what the heavy indie gamers really prefer, and what draws them to your games, is the authentic experiences and the unique and original experience that they have with the game. When we look at heavy indie gamers' preferred genres, we see that story-driven, open-world, action RPG is the type of game they most like to play. Also, heavy gamers want to have an impact on the game, on their playthrough. The journey of the player is the focus, right? So it's the journey, it's what's taking them through the game. So you can really see, this sort of breaks down on kind of an average of where the percentages were for each of the genres. And you can see how Stray kind of really fit the bill on a number of these things for what was most preferred. They also like to customize their gameplay. So everything from skill lines to companions to cosmetics. For heavy indie gamers, a video game represents something personal. Having the ability to customize their playthrough, especially if they want to replay the game with a different character class or make different choices, really provides added value. And that explains why 54% of the individuals that we surveyed like to make in-game purchases to further personalize and customize their gameplay. So this is kind of an interesting data point when thinking about how to monetize your game and the things to offer players. Customization, things that they can explore multiple times through the game, and really create that sense of something that they've invested in and made their own. And then here are some interesting spending behaviors that we noticed. Heavy indie gamers' annual gaming spend on both indie games and AAA titles is higher than the other two types of gamers. You can see here they spend considerably more on their gaming purchases. They spend twice as much as an indie gamer who's a casual indie gamer. So these are really good sort of sources of revenue for making your game a hit, or at least a commercial hit. In fact, heavy indie gamers spend twice as much money per year as a traditional gamer does, $405 to $195. And remember, traditional gamers are ones that we classified as they don't really play indie games, they just buy maybe one or two AAA games for console or whatever it might be per year. So these heavy indie gamers are very invested, they really treat it like a hobby, and they're just a great community to have. And what's really cool is this amount continues to grow. A third of indie gamers spent more money in 2021 than they did in 2020. So this is kind of an interesting data point that indicates that the market for indie gamers is growing, and as more people really embrace indie games, they're starting to spend more and more on them over time. What about platforms? Well, How many people out here play indie games on PC? Anyone? Everybody? Yay! Well, you're not alone. 85% of the people who play indie games play them on PC. And you can see the other platforms there as well. And then the weekly playtime, 5.5 hours per week on PC. And what was interesting is Switch actually had a pretty high amount of playtime, coming in second at 4 hours, even though PlayStation was the second highest for indie gamers when it came to a platform. So heavy indie gamers, they want their games to have options, expansive worlds, and characters they can customize to their tastes and preferences. Long gaming sessions on the PC, we love it. You don't have to worry about your battery running out. You're comfortable. You're sitting at a big screen. It's really the way to do your gaming, and we see that with these heavy indie gamers. A really interesting data point that came out of this is heavy indie gamers don't really seem to care who published or developed the game. If the game engages them, they'll spend hours and hours playing it without a second thought. They'll tell their friends about it, and I know we've all been there. We've all had a game that's consumed us, and we just really get into and maybe never really realized who the developer was. But even if the indie game is popular, it was difficult for the survey participants to accurately match the publisher or the developer with the game. And the takeaway from this, it may sound like this is like depressing. They don't know who we are, who make the games, but it's actually should be a good data point to take away. What it indicates is that projects from new studios have an equal chance of becoming successful, right? It's not the cachet of the studio that's driving success of indie games. It's the quality of the game itself. It's that unique experience. And it shows us that gamers who prefer indie games are special. These heavy gamers deeply appreciate the worlds that you're creating, the stories that you're telling, and these games that emerge from bootstrapped passion that drives all of us to be here today. What's next? All right, what else did we discover on our little journey of surveying all these indie gamers? Well, we learned that you really need to show them the gameplay, right? How do you show the players just how awesome your game world is? Show them gameplay. Images, sounds, characters. Two of the most efficient ways to reach the indie gaming audience are through your gameplay trailer and influencer marketing, especially with YouTube and Twitch streamers. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to go out and try to hire Ninja or Shroud or somebody to promote your game. There's plenty of channels out there, and engage early when you can, create content to share. This is kind of a superpower, I think, that indie developers and indie games have, is the fact that you're not really beholden to the rigid rules of marketing your game that a big AAA title might have. You can get out there early, you can make really fun trailers, you can have fun with your art, your concept art, all of that, to start engaging the players early and getting the word out, right, about what you're working on. So what's the perfect game for these heavy gamers, indie gamers? What's their motivation? Well, if we knew that, we'd be making the perfect game right now, right? But there is no perfect game, and that's not the point of this survey. You create the game that you want to play. Along the way, you'll find that you'll at least have one player playing the game, but you may also find that there's an audience that's intrigued by the world you've made, that you've been out there sharing and evangelizing. You've had that cool trailer, and it doesn't need to be a high-production CG trailer, just something that shows the gameplay. And don't make the players search for it, have to go looking for it. Get it out there where it's easy to find. And what this data shows us is that past the numbers, there's several aspects that can really tilt the scales in your favor. You can see here creativity, relaxation, imagination. Those are really the three big takeaways from the survey of what indie gamers are looking for, what they're looking to get out of the game, out of your game when they're playing it. They want something that's creative, something that's relaxing, and something that's imaginative, right? Introducing them to great new worlds that are kind of maybe a little bit out there that they wouldn't otherwise find in more traditional games. The survey also indicated something special when it comes to the elements of open world action or RPG single player. So heavy indie gamers really like to, well, I'll get to that side in a moment, but really, as I said, they like to relax, explore, craft. They like to do all kinds of cool things in your game. But relax and unwind, de-stress, those were the big takeaways. Also, indie gamers, they really, like I said, like these open world action or RPG single player games. They tend to hit the sweet spot, right? We see Terraria, Stardew Valley, great examples. But players also prefer long but finite games, okay? These are another great sampling of different games. And let me back up. Sorry, I hit the wrong button here. There we go. They want long but finite. It wouldn't be a presentation without a mix-up here. They want long but finite games, right? So gamers, they tend to like games that are 20 to 100 hours in time, in play session, games with a strong, engaging narrative, and games that let them explore their creativity and their imagination. So you're getting some themes, some key takeaways here, right, of creative and imaginative and relaxing. But remember, coming back to what we found, the primary purchasing trigger, which I know is like a business jargony kind of term, but the thing that really was the number one thing that made indie gamers purchase an indie game was the gameplay trailer. I mentioned it before, I have to stress that again. It is so important to show them what your game is. Show what the game is about. And like I said, it doesn't need to be fancy cinematics or high production CGI. Just show the game, explain what it is to players, let them know what they're going to be getting, and that becomes a powerful tool for your purchasing decisions. Players want to see exactly what they're going to get. And again, don't make it hard for them to find. Don't have it buried in Reddit somewhere where they have to go searching. Even though they are out there looking for games, you still want to help them a bit. So put the trailer on your own website, put it on social media, ask your friends to share it. Even if the game isn't finished, just start getting the word out. In-progress work can get you pre-orders, early access fans, you name it. We saw the success Stray had with their early access. I've personally had great success with early access on one of the titles I worked on years ago. And it can really drive your game's sales just up the charts on the day that you launch. So I know we had kind of a short time together at the session. This was a quick one, about a 20-minute session. I encourage all of you to reach out to myself or anyone on our team, anybody you see at DevCom if you want to learn more about Xsolla and the reports that we have here. And we're happy to share more of our expertise and tools to help you launch and grow your business. Like this Indie Gamer Insights report we made for you, it's free. And I did say I would share a QR code. There's a little QR code up there, but I had this cool shirt, so if anybody wants to get a real good shot of the QR code, I can put that up here. Maybe I can put it right over here for people to get. And that will give you access to the full report. And you can download it, like I said, for free. It'll cover the heavy indie gamers, casual indie gamers, traditional gamers. There's a ton of data and insights in there. And it's free, which we all love. And then before we leave and wrap up, I do want to take a moment just to recognize the positive, unique, just goodness that you all bring to the world with the games that you're making. I mean, it's really important, right, for us to recognize that the games we make are helping people bring some joy into their lives, some relaxation, and it's good for us all. You can lose sight of that sometimes when your head's down in the business trying to make your game, but it's important that we all take a moment and reflect on that and remember that we're creating things that bring joy and happiness to people's lives. So with that, I just really want to thank you all, and I appreciate you being here today. I know a little bit later there will be the Indie Game Awards being presented. So with that, I will wrap it up. Yay.